All right. 30 seconds.
Welcome to Back to the Father, a show about the journey of life focused on our final end, which is God Himself, our loving Father. And now, here's your host, Dave Palmer.
And welcome to this edition of Back to the Father here on the Guadalupe Radio Network social media platforms of YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. And I think we're on all three of them right now. If you are watching us, welcome, and we want you to participate in the program. We start off a little silly, and then we get a little bit more serious, and then we get really serious, and then you just kind of throw your hands up in the air and say, I'm out of here. Okay? But no,
we start slow, though.
Yeah, we start by putting on crazy hats, like Sam Cavanagh has done. But today is July 30th, 2021. It's the penultimate day of the month of July. We're in the 17th week of Ordinary Time. My name is Dave Palmer, host of this program. My hat, we'll just kind of go around the horn here of those of us who cared enough to wear a hat. Some people, they wear helmets and crazy stuff, and then sometimes they just don't wear anything at all. I'm not thinking about anybody in particular, but just saying. All right, my hat, which I'm just going to wear for a second here, says Seaside. And it is a community in Florida, a city in Florida that if you ever get a chance to get out to Seaside, it's absolutely beautiful. Hard to find a parking place there, but it is just idyllic and palm trees and cool restaurants and beach and, oh, my goodness. I just the very thought of it. That's why I get caps when I go on vacation, so I can continue to kind of live the vacation, after it's finished. But that was a great memory of our vacation about a month ago down there. All right, Sissel has a hat. You can hardly see it.
I know,
do you want to explain
my hair
that? It
is
looks
so
almost
dark.
looks like a beanie or something. Like one of the Jewish yarmulke, is that what they're called?
Yeah, definitely, because girls wear those.
Yeah, they do.
So it's kind of like a 1950s Lucille Ball kind of, I don't know how to describe this. I don't know, guys.
You're doing well.
I'm doing well. Y'all have seen this, it's very classic. I think generally women would wear it with their hair up or their hair was curled, so I feel like it was more of a full look. So I kind of failed it in that respect, but it's on. It looks like I'm wearing, what's the word for it?
Looks
like
like
a bonnet or
looks
something.
like part of a hat.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's basically, it's not doing much to protect me from the sun. Just the top of my head is good.
Practical value,
But
right?
this is from my cousin's grandmother, actually. So it was probably made 50 years ago or so.
All right.
That's cool.
And you were having to start repeating some, so that's a new one you found?
Yeah, it's a new one. The one my sister found when she went through her closet. We found about 3 or 4 more hats I hadn't used yet. So, ta-da!
All right. Well, thank you so much. And Sam Cavanagh, after a 1-week hiatus, just a time of being away, you were at actually a speech tournament, right?
It was online, but yeah, I was doing a speech competition.
How'd you do?
I did not advance, but it's interesting. I don't really know too much of how I did because they'll name the first person and then the first place person advances, but they don't tell you how you did.
Okay.
And you could have been second.
I could have been second or last.
Yeah. Okay.
You're second.
You can't see the comments or the results or what the judges said or anything like that?
No, I can't.
Really?
They're never going to show it to you?
I don't know that they will. It kind of makes sense that they won't because I think they were time pressured to write things, so I don't think they were able to do much other than just choose who was the best.
Yeah.
But
that's sad.
Did you have a good feeling about how you did?
I had a mild feeling.
A mild feeling.
I felt okay.
A mild feeling. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And then the hatless one, joining Diane Xavier in the hatless category, is Jonathan von Weber Hansberg. But he did bring a shirt. Was that the thinking? You want to wear a shirt?
Yes, it's my fantastic Where the Heck is Anna, Texas shirt. because Anna is the best town in all of Texas.
And why is
Motivate.
that? You've mentioned a couple of times, lot of land, very good people,
Yeah, good people, a lot of land. very
God-fearing
rural.
people.
Oh, yes, very Christian. We have a little church, Catholic church, right nearby in the town over. It's not in Anna, unfortunately. But it's just awesome because it's awesome. That's all I can say.
Yeah. All right. Okay.
Adrian asked where my hat is, and I would just like to clarify again. I have a hat.
Kind of highlighting the fact, my point is saying you have a partial hat on.
It's
So,
a partial hat.
yeah, so Sissel has half a hat. Next week, she'll bring the other half of it.
We were just going down.
And Diane Xavier runs our board, and we love when you call. Last week we had a gentleman, I won't name his name, but he made a comment on one of our social media platforms, and I kind of misconstrued what he was getting at, and he actually had a really good point. But I tell you, if the point you're going to make is a little complicated or maybe could be better described audibly rather than by typing, then go ahead and give us a call if you want to get on the program. We can put you on the air. 877-757-9424. 877-757-9424 is the number. Before we get on, let me just quickly tell you that there's 3 parts to this program. First, we do a way a day. That's where I talk about the creatures that I've seen that kind of highlight how the world is very ordered, and I don't know, it does something to me to be able to observe and see things every day, and then what's their purpose? How do they play into the big picture of God's providence and governance? And so I'll highlight a few things and tell you a few interesting facts about that. And one of our participants here is going to contribute a way a day. Okay,
And I would just like to
Sam's
add
looking
to that.
around. Who is it?
I'd like to add that the person's also wearing a hat.
Whoa, my goodness. Shots fired.
Gosh.
Okay, so much for that cool shirt you wore,
Yes.
Jonathan. You're
Sorry,
getting,
Jonathan.
Getting no
he
love
he
for
brought
it,
a
man.
shirt. I like it.
All right, so we do a way a day, and then we have a little teaching about the Summa, and today we're going to talk about the intellectual virtues. Last week I put you two on the hot seat and asked you to name the 5 intellectual virtues. Do y'all want to relive that glory, or do you?
No, it's okay.
Yeah.
I feel like you're
hard
the
at my
teacher who just we failed a quiz and you like, okay,
keep
next week
bringing
we're
it
gonna do
back.
a review. We're gonna
Okay,
go back.
let's review the one you failed. Okay, so we'll revisit that in a moment and talk about them and what does it mean, especially in light of achieving our final end of Beatitude and being with God, back to the Father. And then at the end of the program, the part that these 3 really enjoy, and quite honestly, I enjoy it quite a bit as well. Actually, I've gotten some feedback from people who say I like the trivia time.
Oh,
It's kind of
good.
fun.
That's good.
Learn something, and so everybody came equipped today. We all
Some
got
of us
some.
were keeping up the fort, but it's okay.
Yeah.
No, we do. We do.
Jonathan, man, he is just getting hit left and right.
Okay, well, I came up with the idea for the PSA based on.
Yeah, there you
Oh,
go. Yes, that's true.
okay.
He's like, I've already used all my creative energy.
So there's a
Let's see.
tie-in. Okay,
Yeah.
so
Yes.
Jonathan and Sam are very creative young men, and they write these spots, they voice them, and so they have 2, which I have not heard yet. So you guys want to go ahead and set those up, and then we'll get into a way a day?
All right. Well, we can't play them.
Yeah, well,
she-
Diane
Yeah,
can.
no,
Diane could,
I
yeah,
mean,
yes,
you
yeah.
set it up, like, explain it.
Okay,
like,
so-
what are we
so-
about to hear?
I guess let's do the first one. Should be the Australian. So just so you know, I sound a bit weird in this one. Well, I'm Australian. Things that I don't really do my Australian accent very much, and it's really weird the way you have to open your mouth in weird ways to stretch your lips out to make the sound. So I'm gonna sound like a weird Australian zombie.
I
and-
like the way that they're setting this up. It's just like
I
how
know.
they do
Making
it.
a lot of excuses.
Yeah.
Also,
All right,
we
maybe
should-
maybe the spot will speak for itself.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so here's spot number 1, the weird Australian zombie. All right, Diane.
Good evening. Today we've got a very special guest coming all the way from Australia. His name is Matt von Weber-Hansberg, and he is the host of the show Pints with Augustine. So, Matt, in Australia, I'm sure you see some crazy parts of nature, yes?
Oh, too right. Nearly everything down there is venomous not to get you, but it's also home to some really stunning natural beauties.
Yeah, and how has the Away a Day blog by Dave Palmer helped you notice this more?
Oh, mate, all I do is throw some shrimp on the barbie and go to awayaday.org to rustle up some photos of our stunning wildlife. Mate, it really lets me reckon where it all came from.
After further clarification, the board realized the Australian's name is actually Jonathan and not Matt.
We have some fans of Matt Fradd here.
See,
and I'm
yeah.
so sorry, Matt, if you ever see those.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
That's great because
My Australian accent is not good.
no, think about all the beauty in that spot. You get to reference Matt Fradd's Pints with Aquinas. You get to do your cool accent, which I thought was actually pretty good. I don't think it sounded like a zombie. And you get to promote Away a Day and creatures and something on the Barbie and yeah. No, I like that. I
That
like
was
that.
cute. I enjoyed
Okay,
that.
are you starting with the best and then the second one? Eh, not
no,
so-
this is the best
this
one.
is
This is the next
building.
one.
Well,
Okay.
it
This sounds pretty
depends.
good.
Sam, you want
I
you
think-
set this one up,
no,
Sam?
as
I
long
like
as-
it.
Yeah, I don't know if
No,
there's the
yeah,
setup.
make sure you're speaking
I guess
to the mic.
the setup is that you have to you just have to know that we aren't really able
It's
to.
all in good fun.
Yeah.
There
Oh,
you go.
so somebody's about to get offended.
Dave, that might be you. All
Does
right.
somebody have a
Yeah.
tissue?
No,
Is
It's
the
your-
person that could potentially be offended me?
All right.
Oh, let's see.
Let's just put
I
hold
got,
spot.
I got pretty thick skin, unless you ask my wife, and then. But anyways, all right, Diane. Here is spot number 2.
I'm calling every able-bodied man, woman, and child in the Dallas area to join the Back to the Father Army. We need you to find a St. Thomas Aquinas trivia question that Dave can't answer. We want you in the Back to the Father Army.
Jonathan, wait, what are you doing?
Sam, we waited long enough. Now is no time to be hesitant. Dave must be destroyed.
So wait, let me get this right. Are you just asking people to send in trivia questions? How do they even do that?
Yes, Sam. Yes, I am. Good eggs and ham for the win, by the way. They can send in their trivia questions via Facebook or YouTube during the show on Friday at 2 p.m. Central. This is the only way for us to end Dave's reign of terror.
So they're missing some sound effects.
Yeah,
They
there
had
was
some
There
sound
was some
effects.
music, but yeah.
Oh,
But
okay.
yeah.
The music's gonna be added later.
It was that. I
think
think they
there's
just played the
one.
wrong spot.
Oh,
That's all.
okay. Okay.
and they're
The music. Well,
It's
like,
supposed to make it more dramatic.
yeah, it's like
Yeah.
some dramatic. I'm calling military- every
There
able-bodied
we
man,
go. Oh, okay.
woman, and child in the Dallas area to join the Back to the Father Army. We need you to find a St. Thomas Aquinas trivia question that Dave can't answer. We want you in the Back to the Father Army.
Jonathan, wait, what are you doing?
Sam, we waited long enough. Now is no time to be hesitant. Dave must be destroyed.
So wait, let me get this right. Are you just asking people to send in trivia questions? How do they even do that?
Yes, Sam. Yes, I am. Good eggs and ham for the win, by the way. They can send in their trivia questions via Facebook or YouTube during the show on Friday at 2 p.m. Central. This is the only way for us to end Dave's reign of terror.
I like that. I think if anybody should be offended, it should be you guys because you're admitting that you just
That's
aren't up to
true.
it. I mean, you just
Yeah.
can't find
Thanks
them.
for throwing us under the bus, guys.
Sorry.
All right. No, those were great. Those are great. Yeah, I like the Sam I am, green eggs and ham for the win.
I said it by accident, and then I just died laughing.
Yeah, no, those
What
are
happens when we leave them alone for a couple
yeah,
hours?
yeah. What happens when you leave interns alone? But no, that's great. You guys make a great team. I think that's awesome. All right. So you've been challenged, ladies and gentlemen, out there in our audience. If you want to, how do they do this though? Because they enter it and I can see it. Okay.
Oh,
They
may
just
not
put
have thought
the
about
put the
that.
question.
We
but
might
not-
need to redo the spot and give it my
put
email.
the question. No, put the question, but not the answer.
Oh, there you go.
They
Oh,
can
that's
do
question.
that.
That's true.
Okay.
Yeah, question.
All right.
Don't
there
give
we
answers.
go.
But they
All
can
right,
text me the answer.
Let's move on to the next phase of this extravaganza. It's 12 minutes after the hour, and this is Back to the Father. This is something I don't know if anybody shares the excitement about this that I do, but I really enjoy this way a day. I just it's totally changed because I walk around all day when I'm outside looking for things and what kind of tree is that and what kind of am I going to see a bug or a lizard or how's it all going to fit in? So this is basically how it works. If you out there in our audience want to participate and send stuff during the week, you can do it you can just send it to me if you want, Dave Palmer at grnonline.com. What it is you find something interesting, some creature, some non-human creature, because I think humans are just amazing. I mean, we're complicated, but not human, but some irrational creature, and then connect it with God, and then explain it. And then, so here's my first one, okay? I'll show you how this works. I wake up Sunday morning, and I'm looking out my window. Have you seen this? You've seen this one, right, Sissel?
I think so.
I looking out my window out to my backyard. Now, this is a zoom-in shot of it, okay? And I see this thing on the other side of my screen and my kitchen window. Do you guys know what this is?
Is that a stink bug?
Yeah, man, for the win.
Yep.
I
Jonathan,
actually
very
saw
good.
this on the blog before the show.
Oh, you did?
So-
Okay, because your mom is on
think
the
so,
blog.
yeah.
Okay, so you have a distinct advantage here, Sam. I am for the win. All right, my first thought when I saw this was it kind of looks like a turtle, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah,
That's weird.
it's like
Looks
a
like-
tarantula turtle.
Looks like a little turtle. Now, here's the thing. Okay, so how does this fit into the big picture of divine providence? A couple of facts about these. First of all, do you know that they can emit different smells it's not just like one smell. And I don't know if they consciously like, okay, I think I'm going to do this one or that one. But when they're threatened or they're smushed, they emit a smell.
I like how when they're smushed, like they've been killed, but they're like, I'm gonna have the last laugh.
I know. Well, it's like
God gave them that defense mechanism just to like
last gasp.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like a bee when they sting, that's it.
Yeah.
Right? And I mean, that's a bee. It's a death sentence. As soon as they sting something, it's like all the life escapes out of their little stinger. All right, so they have very few natural predators for obvious reasons, because who would want to eat a stink bug, right? And let me see, what else is interesting about the stink bug? And yeah, why? I guess you look at it, and God, in this amazing order, has, like, you don't want to create a creature that just gets destroyed and eaten and obliterated, okay? So everything has to have a defense mechanism, otherwise it goes extinct, right? And no pun intended, extinct with the stink bug, right? Okay, so everything has something, because otherwise there would never be any more of them. You think of, what's interesting though, at one of the top of the food chain is the alligator and crocodiles. They really have no non-human natural predators. And so that's why, like the the Everglades in Florida,
Yes.
they open up once a year for people to go in there, and they actually say, please go in there and kill some alligators and crocodiles, because otherwise they'll just breed out of control, because nothing naturally preys on alligators and crocodiles.
There's a lot of them too in Florida.
Yeah, there's tons
a
of
lot.
them. So they're just going to go rampant. And so it's almost like, God, did you or maybe we are supposed to eat more alligators. Maybe otherwise they're just going to go crazy, right? All right, so you had enough of the stink bug? Okay, so this one I saw right outside our office last week. I went out there looking for a critter, and I know some of y'all maybe have already seen this before. 17,000 species of predatory wasps. They're described as one of the most ecologically important organisms in the world. Okay, so why? Why are wasps
Well, they
important, other than just being? Some people say they're just pains in the rear. I mean, they're all they do is sting you, and they. What do wasps do that help in the big picture?
they pollinate and just keep other like bugs under control. That's kind of what I always thought.
Bing, man, boom. Exactly.
That
yeah.
is a very large wasp. Guys.
Like farmers love them because they eat caterpillars. They'll eat all the bugs that are on the crops, and if all the wasps went away, you wouldn't have that delicate balance, that ecological balance of all the creatures. You just have all, the grasshoppers and everything would just eat all the crop, right? So let's see what else. Okay, speaking of grasshoppers. I showed previously this one in the middle, which I think is one of the coolest. Look at that antennae on that grasshopper. Isn't that just like the coolest antennae that you ever seen?
Oh, 100%.
I mean, that's a really. I found this guy in my back garden, and look at those eyes, like big bug eyes, right? So I'm mowing the yard on Saturday, and as I'm mowing, I'm noticing these other little grasshoppers, jumping around. So the one on the left and the one on the right were in my yard, St. Augustine grass, as you can see. And so that's 3 different species of grasshoppers. And they're very different looking. One's brown, one's kind of like a shiny green, and one of them's just amazing. 11,000 species of grasshoppers. I have 10,997,000 more to find, okay? And I'll try to do that by the next show, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
So what is the purpose of grasshoppers?
They eat plants and stuff to
Yeah, but why do we need plants eaten?
so they don't grow out of control, maybe.
Yeah, well, pardon me, I won't answer this. But see, the cool thing is, and they also have been described. Well, first of all, they're an important animal, food for other animals. Do you know that a grasshopper will eat half of its weight every day in plant material, like grass or something like that, kind of like me and pizza.
Yeah, I was gonna say that sounds really familiar.
Yeah. And so what it is that plants and grass and these things, they have a natural life cycle where plant grows and then dies, and that you need something to maintain that natural cycle of consumption, and then as it grows, I mean, sometimes it can be out of control. That's why you need the wasps, to control the grasshoppers and all that kind of stuff. But they say without grasshoppers, grass would not be able to fulfill its natural life cycle. You need the grasshoppers in there eating stuff, especially the stuff that dies. Okay. Now this is one of my favorites. You guys have seen these things?
Ugh.
You know what that is, right?
Cicada, right?
Yeah, cicada.
Oop.
And have you ever seen those? And
yeah.
They're all over the place right
They
now.
are.
Do you guys know the how this all works?
Their life cycle, you mean?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It reminds me
I
of
watched
the
a
movie
documentary
Alien.
on it.
Did you? Oh, okay. Well, then,
No.
yeah, because I didn't know anything about this until I saw this one at church on Sunday. I'm walking in, and this is on the wall of our church, and I'm like, okay, I'm taking a picture. And so I took a picture, and so sister, do you want to
I hope I don't get
explain
some
it?
of the.
Okay, so
but they
what's
they
this?
live under. Oh, sorry. I
Yeah,
don't know.
I got
can't
another.
see.
I'll get another picture up there. Okay, do you?
Oh, the shell. I don't have. I'm a little delayed on you. What I see, so I
no,
might be
no,
behind.
but this is the larva.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And they're called nymphs.
Mm-hmm.
And so what they do is the first stage of a cicada is the larva underground.
For a
Okay.
long time.
Yeah, they live underground, and then at some point, and they just kind of know when to do this, and it has to be during the night because it's too dangerous to do this during the day because of all the natural predators. They always do this at night. They come out of the ground, they find a vertical structure, and they attach to it. And then that's what you have. You have the cicada shell, right? And then, and this, I know you guys are going to be delayed on seeing this, what emerges out of the shell, it's like they break out of the cicada shell, and then, did y'all see that yet? And then you've got the cicada. But they just kind of know that they got to do this at night. Okay, they just got to know they got to find a vertical shelter. The other day I was walking back from my house from taking my wife's car over to get an oil change, and on the fence, I mean, I must have seen 100 of these things,
Oh
the
my gosh.
shells. It's like I normally don't even notice them.
It makes you second guess every time you walk on the ground, knowing that there's hundreds of cicadas
Yeah,
underneath
right.
it. You know?
Yeah. The larvae,
the larvae are under. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. So I don't know. I find that amazing. It's almost kind of like a resurrection theme, if you think about it. I mean, because that ugly, like kind of useless, immobile, largely immobile little larvae nymph turns into this pretty cool winged, like a caterpillar and a butterfly kind of thing, right? All right. I've just got, I think, two more. And then I don't know if anybody is sending any trivia questions or anything like that.
I know Adrian says he has some. So.
Oh, he's got some. Okay,
Yep.
good. Okay, here's a pretty cool one that it looks pretty simple, but this is actually what kind of got me started on this whole kind of away day thing. Is the whole leaf cycle. You see leaves and it's like, whatever, leaves on the ground, right? I took this picture in my neighbor's yard the other day, and I kept thinking I was going to show up on Nextdoor. Where like, who's
Creepy
this
guy.
Yeah, because they do that. Like, who's this creep taking pictures in my yard,
Oh, I know what this is.
And if anybody did that, I would say, oh, that was me, and please visit awayaday.org. I'll just use it as a promotion. But, okay, you guys probably know this, but the
do.
point is, do you recognize this kind of on a daily basis, is that the leaves, when they're on the tree, help feed the tree, right? So it's part of the photosynthesis process, right? Then when they fall, they compost and become part of the soil, which then feeds the grass and the tree. It almost is feeding itself because it's producing more soil, which it needs to grow, right? And so the leaf is really important, not only when it's on the tree, but even afterwards.
Those are magnolia leaves, right? Or some of them are anyway.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they are.
don't
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't identify them. That's the next stage. But what's funny is that we rake up leaves, we bag them, we throw them away, and then we go to the store and buy like mulch and compost. Or I mean, we basically are doing a whole lot of work and basically what God has already established, because He's already or we buy soil, we buy peat moss, and then we rake up leaves. Well, that's what the leaves kind of are
They're like,
supposed
leave
to
us
do.
alone. Keep us there.
No pun,
Leave us
no,
alone,
no,
yeah.
no pun intended, right?
Leave us
all
alone,
right.
please.
All right, final one. You can hardly even see it in there. Right in the center, there's a little spider. And you probably can't even see it. And all I want to mention about this is the coolness of the spider web. Did you know that spider webs inside the spider are liquid? And when they, come from their backside, then they become physical. All right, they're liquid inside them. And also, if you adjusted a spider web, pound for pound, like by weight, that's stronger than steel. So a spider web, have you ever heard that, Sam?
I think I have. I'm trying to remember.
I know that the Egyptians, they used to catch big spiders, and they had these weird little things they would put them in that would take the silk out of them, like a little spool. And they weave this big blanket out of it, and it's in a museum
really?
somewhere. It's creepy yellow spider.
So they
silk.
like pull it out of them.
Yeah, they would just
Like
pull them out and let them
against
go.
their will.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, spiders don't have wills, but yeah, against their desire,
Yes,
right?
exactly.
That's almost kind know.
I know, yeah.
That's really disturbing.
But then
The
we
Egyptians.
milk cows, and we kind of like, get
Yeah,
your
that's
milk,
true.
right?
It's milking spiders.
Yeah, so, okay, I never knew that. Thank you. And let's see. So that's all I have. And then Sissel was good enough. I'm going to turn it over to her.
Okay.
Has a couple of them. So take it away, Sissel. What is this monstrosity? Can you see it
I
yet?
can't see it. I'm
Okay,
assuming it's the
up
giant,
there.
big
It's the big-
bush-looking thing.
Yeah.
I would like to ask, does anyone have any idea what that is?
I actually think I do.
Okay. What do you
That-
think it is?
That looks like an aloe vera.
It's not an aloe vera, but it's a
Yeah,
good
It's a
guess.
succulent.
I'd like to see like a human being next to that.
Right?
I mean, is that like 6-7 feet tall?
It's very tall. Yeah.
Because I don't
was-
even know how big that bucket is.
So this picture comes all the way from Mexico.
Oh.
So it is an agave plant.
Okay.
And an agave plant actually has a lot of really cool things about it. This is actually from an agave farm that is near the pyramids of the sun and the moon, about a little north of Mexico City. And this family has been harvesting and making things out of the agave plant for generations. And the agave plant has a couple of really cool things. One, it makes tequila.
Hey, you don't even have to say number 2.
It makes tequila.
We're done.
Early tequila was something called pulque, a first alcoholic drink that they made from the honey water that's in the base of that plant. Now, this plant is really tough, and the only thing they've been able, when the early indigenous people, to cut into it the way that they did it, they use obsidian, which is a really sharp material, or very tough material, I should say, that was locally. And the tilma of Juan Diego is made out of fibers from the agave plant.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, so it can be very brittle. It's very stringy when you pull it apart. It also, you said aloe vera. It has medicinal values just like aloe vera, and the locals think it's better than aloe vera. But it also, at the very tip of the plant, of the leaves, I guess you could say, there's a little sharp point that is kind of like a needle, and it comes attached with some of the fibers, so it's like a needle and thread on its own. And if you pull apart the agave, you pull a tiny strip off, it has layers. It was the first paper that they had.
Wow.
And it was waterproof, and
So this thing does everything.
it does. So they're very proud of their agave plant there.
and rightly so.
So that was just a little.
So if
bit
you're
of an
standing
overview.
there, would it be taller than you?
Yeah, it was taller than
Okay.
me.
Yeah. Wow. That's amazing. That's
So lots of cool things.
Absolutely amazing. I will say, this away a day thing is that it helps us see that the world is ordered and everything has design. I'm thinking about, a lot of people get real fascinated with like how cars are put together, and you got to have a carburetor and engine, or the electric cars, of course, are different, or how like when Bezos went up into his spaceship a week or so ago, remember? Everything had to be totally put together with a lot of precision, and every part had to do its part in order for that to be a successful mission. And it's kind of how the world is. I mean, everything is so precision oriented, where the balance between grasshoppers and bugs and spiders and ants and cicadas and trees and these plants whose name I already forgot. Agave. Yeah. And
Yes.
it's like I think we've gotten so technologically minded that we don't notice this stuff.
The beautiful things around us, yeah.
Ancients used to study the world all the time. I mean, the stars and the sky. I mean, I don't even pay attention much to the sky or the stars. I mean, but they were, because they knew it was telling them something very profound, right? So, anyways, Sissel has this one also.
Yes,
looks a little smaller.
This one's a little bit small, and this one's right outside my front door, and it's something that my sister planted. And I just want to say real quick, the Andersons are not great at keeping things alive besides humans. Humans and pets, we're not great at keeping anything green alive. But every year we do try to plant just a few things. And this year for Easter, we gave her a packet of seeds of one of her favorite things in the whole world. And she just planted them a week and a half ago, and they have already sprouted. Like I walked by, that's why I had to stop and take a picture, and I jumped because I was like, oh my gosh, they're growing. We have successfully made life. What has happened? So I took a picture of it, and I wonder if you all might figure out what it is.
I'm going to leave this to the youngsters here because
I'm weirdly going to say radishes.
That's an interesting guess. So these will mature around October and November.
Oh, pumpkins.
Strawberries.
Pumpkins.
Oh, the pumpkins.
Really?
Pumpkins. So these are
Wow.
4 little pumpkin plants. Now, I do know that we have tried to plant pumpkins in the past. They do go a little crazy with the vine. So it's going to be interesting what our front yard is going to look like. But they take about 90 to 120 days to become mature. And I'm kind of excited. I hope that we actually get a pumpkin, at least a pumpkin out of this.
You got one for each of us.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah, I am curious how many pumpkins come out of each plant. You know, is there more than one? I don't know. But a couple of things about pumpkins is that their seeds apparently have medicinal value as well. So there's a lot of cool things about pumpkins. I'm trying to think of other ones.
Pumpkin pie.
Pumpkin pie is great. Obviously, great things come from pumpkins.
Get to carve them. I mean,
did you know the original pumpkin pie that they think they had at the first Thanksgiving was they carved out the pumpkin and put like spices and things into it and cooked it like that. That was the pumpkin pie.
Oh, is that right?
So I kind of want to try that now. So I hope maybe around October, November, I'll have an actual pumpkin I can bring in. Was a fruit of this.
Yeah, wouldn't that be amazing? Because if you put a pumpkin on top of one of those right now, it'd destroy it.
Yeah, it
And to
would.
think that not only will it not be destroyed by a pumpkin, it's actually going to spawn one. I
It
mean, like
is.
a pumpkin's going to come out of this thing.
I know.
And
I'm
it's
excited.
going to have to grow very fast. So we'll
I'm
have to
excited.
keep up to date on your pumpkin plant.
Yes, I will.
There.
I will
All
let
right.
you
Well,
know.
thank you so much.
Of course.
That's pretty cool. All right. So that's going to do it for that portion of the program. And so send us stuff if you would like. You can send it to me directly, and we'll highlight it on the program. Dave Palmer at grnonline.com. Comment. We've had a lot of comments. Adrian is pretty active on the program today. I do want to thank Adrian, if he's still listening, because Adrian takes every opportunity he can to incorporate Dominican spirituality, anything about the Dominican life in the Catholic Drive
Absolutely.
Time show every morning. Joe makes fun of him a lot about that. And he doesn't have Emily with him, who was also a Dominican. And so I don't know if Janelle has a Dominican spirituality about her or not. But anyways, good to have Adrian with us. All right, let's move on to the teaching part of the program. And we're going to talk about intellectual virtues. Last week we talked about theological virtues. And Sam, you know what the 3 theological virtues are, right?
I hope so.
Yeah.
Faith, hope.
Man, and charity. All right, very good.
Woo-woo.
Okay, so what is a virtue? Just for review, a virtue is basically something that has to be a habit. Okay, it's not just a single act, but it's a habit that is geared towards making a person good. Okay, so anything that is geared towards one's goodness and it's habitual would be a virtue, as opposed to a vice, which would be just the opposite, which would lead one away from goodness, right? So last week, theological virtues, they're infused. They connect us directly to God as the object. Today, and I think this is I just have a few articles that I'm going to share, but I won't put you all on the spot, but 5 intellectual virtues that we're going to talk about. And let's see if anybody out there who is watching knows. I bet you Adrian knows what the intellectual virtues. Adrian said Janelle is discerning religious life with the Vietnamese Dominican sisters. Okay.
They only let people on who have a Dominican
Joe
spirituality.
cannot get away from the Dominican spirituality on this show. So how interesting. Okay, so intellectual virtues. I think you mentioned wisdom already, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so wisdom, science,
Art?
prudence,
Oh, sorry.
art. Yeah.
Got
Art is one of them, and then knowledge. Okay. So I have 5 little pictures that are up here. Isn't that a cool? You've probably seen that piece of art there, right?
My sister has a puzzle. It's actually really cool. It's the same picture, but she
That'd be
has
a hard
It
puzzle.
looks like a dwarf.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so wisdom depicted by the old gray-haired man in the top. Science, prudence, art, knowledge.
No, the art actually had that.
I also was going to throw in there, what is the most famous piece of art? Most famous painting, let's just say that, in the history.
Mona Lisa.
Man, you guys are so good. Yeah, the Mona Lisa, which is interesting because it's pretty simple, you know? It's just a lady, what makes that art so intriguing? I spent a lot of time thinking about this. I think it's the look in her face, her smile.
It's the mystery about it, I think.
Yeah,
too.
kind of a mystique. Okay, so, all right, so those are the intellectual virtues: wisdom, science, art, prudence, knowledge, and we'll talk about them individually now. And okay, so basically, an intellectual virtue can be what's called speculative, which is just like a consideration of truth, right? So there are some things that are without a doubt true, all right? And so to the degree that one is able to kind of know truth as a virtue and have a good understanding of truth would be the intellectual virtue of understanding. So if you understand principles that are, incontrovertibly true, and you have just an ability to grasp those principles that some people don't have as much of an ability to understand, that's the virtue of understanding. Okay, so that's one of the intellectual virtues. Now, wisdom, and I'll just read this here. Wisdom considers the highest causes, as stated by Aristotle. Wherefore, it rightly judges all things and sets them in order, because there can be no perfect and universal judgment that is not based on the first causes. All right, so who is a wise person? And how would you describe that? A wise person is somebody who has the intellectual virtue of wisdom, but what does that mean? So if somebody says, wow, you're really wise, you're, Jonathan Weber-Hansberg, you're such a wise person.
Well, thank you. I know I'm very wise.
I was thinking, like, my example would be like, if you can understand the big picture, like, say, for example, you know that God's in control. And you know that God has providence over the whole world, and ultimately things are going to be okay, Right. And that doesn't mean you don't work and you don't fight for justice, but you don't let it like totally stress you out. Like in the times that we're living in right now, it takes wisdom, because we fight and we struggle for the things that we should struggle for against abortion, that kind of stuff. But if you have wisdom, you understand. God's got this. And yes, I'm part of divine providence, and I got to do my part. But I don't need to get all in a twist about it, because I know that ultimately, God's in control. Or maybe, a parent is just totally panicking because one of their children is departed from the faith or something like that. And then a wise person would say, you know what, all I can do is pray and try to be, and not try to put it all in your hands, because you
Right.
understand that God's in control of things. And so, does that make sense?
Yeah, that does.
You understand the big picture,
Right.
and
It's not acting too rashly, because you are, you can ponder and be like, God's got this.
Yeah, and
That's
so
always
a
thought,
wise person would have probably lower blood pressure and
be healthy overall.
But then the other one is science. And so, what's the difference between science and wisdom? Wisdom doesn't naturally have to do with like physical matter. Science always has to do with like empirical evidence. You're in the chemistry lab or physics or, meteorology. And so there's some, ability to find the truth in science. And there's certainly examples of people who take science, cloning and would be going against, the principles of truth, the types of stem cell research, embryonic stem cell research and stuff like that. So it just says, but in regard to that which is last in this or that genus of knowable matter, it is science which perfects the intellect. Wherefore, according to the different kinds of knowable matter, there are different habits of scientific knowledge. Wherefore, there is but one wisdom. And so I think it would behoove our society and our culture to say, you know what, science is actually a virtue. Like, are we doing things right? Are we doing things according to truth? Are we doing things according to God's laws? And imagine the things that would be eliminated if we did that. So pretty cool, huh?
Adrian says the beginning of wisdom is the fear of the Lord. You don't need to have lots of knowledge to be wise.
Yeah, good point. Good point. So, all right, so how about the virtue of art? I put a few things. I find this next explanation, which I'm going to put up here, really, really interesting. So I got some art up there. And so, do you find that art beautiful or not beautiful? Is it good? Does it conform to the virtue of art? Does it not? Well, any thoughts?
As soon as
about
I see it, I will let you know.
Oh,
I currently
can't
see
see it yet?
ourselves, which we are beautiful works of
I
art,
can see
but
it, and I think that is beautiful. Yes.
okay, you guys still can't see it. Well, there's
Wait,
a
it's coming.
pretty long delay.
there's a bit of a delay,
Yeah,
and
okay.
I'm patiently waiting. Currently, I just see ourselves, which I believe we are beautiful
yeah.
art.
Even
So-
if you have to say so yourself, right? Okay, so is it still not up?
Still not up.
All right,
Jonathan, are we
so-
up?
Up for me.
Oh, there it is.
Okay,
Aha.
so
Oh, it's
you
beautiful.
see some. Yeah, now some art is more natural art, like the what was that, daffodil? Is that what that thing's called?
Dandelion.
Oh, dandelion. Okay.
Yep.
Now the bottom right one, interestingly, was the Vatican's 2020
Oh yeah.
nativity
Nativity set.
scene,
Yeah.
and a lot of people were saying, "Man, that was ugly," and that did not reflect beauty. It did
Not
not.
gonna lie, the donkey's pretty cute. That's probably the most pretty part of it.
The one on the far left.
Yeah, at the left.
Yeah. What's the one on the far right? It kind of.
It's a really fat
elk or
cow, I
something?
think, or something.
Yeah, that's kind of weird. But a lot of, and again, we all judge art, but is there an objective standard in beauty of art, or is it subjective? Can somebody say that's beautiful and another person say no, it's not? So that's the question, and I want you to take this consideration of what I'm going to read from Aquinas
Okay,
here in a
okay.
second. I wonder if Adrian even knows this. Is beauty in art objective or subjective, according to St. Thomas Aquinas?
Interesting to
Can we?
see.
I'm just gonna say that I think it is. I think it's objective to a degree.
It's subjective or objective?
Objective.
Objective?
Yeah.
Okay.
I
So
think I
that it's,
agree.
it's either good or bad, not bad, and that's not determined by the person looking at it. Is that what
Yeah.
you're saying?
I think so.
Okay. You agree, Sam?
I think so.
I
If
think
you
it
ask me
depends on what
why,
you mean by good or bad. Also, you get something like that, but
Yeah, that does
if
kind
it's
of.
sinful or just it's generally.
I've
just
never
like,
thought about it from an art perspective. We've thought about it a lot. Like my friends, actually, just the other day, went around the room saying, "Is beauty, in the eye of the beholder? Is it objective or subjective?" And everyone agreed that we thought being attracted or to something was subjective, but beauty itself was objective.
Yeah.
Right.
So-
Because if somebody is attracted to something, you
Yeah.
can't say no, you're not attracted.
Attracted to
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
but
Oh, yeah, well,
something
I
is
actually am.
beautiful, then it is
Yeah.
something. Yeah. I
Yeah,
don't know.
and there's been some examples of like horrific art, and I didn't even want to put it up on the screen. Things like that are just downright blasphemous.
Yeah.
I don't even want to say them. There's one that comes to my mind where they did something in an art studio that was just so blasphemous that it was just so offensive, and I would never even put that on the screen or give them any kind of acknowledgement. But okay, let me put this up here, and I know it's going to take a minute or two for you guys to get it, but maybe at home as well. But okay, listen to this, and I'll read it kind of slowly because I think this is really interesting. Art is nothing else but the right reason about certain works to be made, and yet the good of those things depends not on man's appetitive faculty being attracted in this or that way, but on the goodness of the work done. For a craftsman, as such, is commendable not for the will with which he does a work, but for the quality of the work. Art, therefore, properly speaking, is an operative habit, and yet it has something in common with the speculative habits. This gets a little murky here, since the quality of the object considered by the latter is a matter of concern to them also, but not how the human appetite may be affected toward the object. So what I'm reading there is that it's not a matter of how people are going to respond to something. I mean, somebody could paint a horrible piece of art and everybody loves it, but that doesn't make it good, right? At the same time, it's not the intention of the artist. Okay, I may desire to draw something really beautiful, but I didn't.
It happens.
So it has nothing to do with my intention. It's like objectively speaking, good or not good, which I find interesting. And like we said, how do you know though? Okay, for as long as the geometrician demonstrates the truth, it matters not how his appetitive faculty may be affected, whether he be joyful or angry, even as neither does this matter in a craftsman. So a mathematician could say 2 + 2 is 8 and feel really joyful about it, but it doesn't make it good math, right?
Yeah.
And somebody could paint something and say, this is gorgeous. And everybody says, yes, it's gorgeous, but it's not. I don't know. I find that really fascinating. Okay, so art has the nature of a virtue in the same way as the speculative habits, insofar to wit as neither art nor speculative habit makes a good work as regards the use of the habit, which is the property of a virtue that perfects the appetite, but only as regards the aptness to work well. So I think, obviously that's kind of wordy and very Thomistic language there, but I think the point is, as I've kind of said probably one too many times, is that it's either good or bad, and it's kind of a objective standard and not subjective. Okay, so isn't that kind of cool?
It is.
Any thoughts? And okay, David L. Gray has commented. He said, "This is a good conversation. When I consider beauty, I am just thinking of my preference for form, apportion, and color, but those things don't have anything to do with the good." Yeah, form, portion, and color. So that's it. So he's looking
What's
at it.
What's aesthetically pleasing to us, basically.
Right. So, but I still think it's a little murky, because we could go to, an art gallery and Sissel could say, "Man, that's absolutely beautiful," and I say, "I think it's ugly." Is one of us right and one of us wrong? I mean, and the artist may have had the intention of making something beautiful, but I guess, does it properly reflect the goodness of God? Like with science, if you're cloning people or doing embryonic stem cell research, the whole world may rejoice, or the secular world, that you're doing something great, and boy, that's wonderful, but it goes against God's laws. And so in and of itself, it's not good, right? So art's the same way. Imagine if artists actually considered this. Imagine if artists were reading the Summa.
Yeah, John Paul II had a great letter to artists that he wrote.
I wonder. I'd like to read that.
It's good. Yeah, it's very good. Definitely.
All right, David. Thank you for the comment. David was actually interviewed by Patrick Coffin last night.
Was he?
Yeah,
that's exciting.
Yeah. And then of course he had Tim Gordon on his show on Wednesday. All right, the virtue of prudence. Okay, I got a little picture here, since we got some youngsters in the studio, of clearly somebody being tempted to, I don't know if that's smoke pot or drink or there's some kind of peer pressure situation going on right here, right?
Stealing the cookies from the cookie jar.
Yeah, and that young lady has that look like, I don't think so. Okay, so she's about to make the prudent decision. So what is prudence, and why is it an intellectual virtue? And how does it compare to art? So that's what Thomas is going to do here.
I always thought prudence was, I guess, discernment about a situation or something like that, and making the choices, making choices that were best for you or best for following God or whatever it may be.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good description. Anything else, Sam?
I like the way Sis says.
You like that?
Yeah.
Cop
All
out.
right. Okay. So here's what he says: art is the right reason of things to be made, whereas prudence is the right reason of things to be done. So he's comparing art and prudence here. Making and doing differ, as stated by Aristotle, in that making is an action passing into outward matter. You build, you saw, and so forth. Whereas doing is an action abiding in the agent, to see, to will, and the like. So just like you create something through art, and it can either be good or bad, the prudence has to do with what's inside. Like you say, it's a discernment. It's like you're something that's not going outward, okay? Accordingly, prudence stands in the same relation to such like human actions consisting in the use of powers and habits as art does to outward making, since each is the perfect reason about the things with which it is concerned. But perfection and rectitude of reason in speculative matters depends on the principles from which reason argues that science depends on and presupposes understanding, which is the habit of principles. Now, in human acts, the end is what the principles are in speculative matters. Okay, consequently, it is requisite for prudence, which is right reason about things to be done, that man be well disposed with regard to the ends, and this depends on the rectitude of his appetite. Wherefore, for prudence, there needs to be a moral virtue, which rectifies the appetite. On the other hand, the good things made by art is not the good of the man's appetite, but the good of those things themselves. All right, so I have this other picture that I'll show in a moment, but it's kind of like, you always use the classic example of like you put a pizza in front of you, right? And let's say you and the dog are both there, and I think I should probably eat maybe 2 or 3 pieces of pizza, but if I eat 7, that would go against temperance, right? So temperance is the moral virtue, but the dog might naturally eat kind of what it's going to eat because there's no moral component for the dog in what it's going to eat, right? But what the difference between me and the dog is that I need an intellectual virtue in addition to the moral virtue. So the temperance is kind of saying like, whoa, let's tap the brakes here, Dave, and have 2 pieces. But then the intellectual virtue has to come in and kind of like say, yes, so they have to work together, the moral and the intellectual virtue. Prudence is the right reasoning. It applies reason to what the moral virtue has kind of directed you towards. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because we're intellectual creatures, so we can't just be based on moral virtues. We have to have a rational response to it.
It's faith and reason.
Yeah. So isn't that kind of cool?
That is.
So anyway, the last thing, the difference between intellectual and moral virtues. Basically, what he's going to say here is, he talks about like when the soul is commanding the body. Okay, like when Dave, take your headphone off, or move your leg. That the body doesn't have any right to object to that. Your leg is not going to say no, I'm not going to move, or no, I'm not going to go up there and take your headphone off, right? So he calls this kind of like a despotic relationship where the soul is kind of like a tyrant over the body. Whatever it says, it does. But with our passions, the relationship is not that way. They actually can rebel. And so you have to have the moral virtue, like I said, of temperance or justice or fortitude that's kind of trying to regulate the passions, and then the intellectual virtue that comes in and applies reason to it. Okay, and I have this picture here of like a bird in a nest. Tell me when y'all can see this. And let me. Okay, so this last thing here says, for a man to do a good deed, it is requisite not only that his reason be well disposed by means of a habit of intellectual virtue, but also that his appetite be well disposed by means of a habit of moral virtue. And so moral differs from intellectual virtue, even as the appetite differs from the reason. Okay, so the appetite is what wants me to have 7 pieces of pizza, all right, an inordinate appetite. And that's where temperance comes in and says, I don't think so. But then the intellectual virtue of prudence comes in and says, no, you're not. You can only eat 3 pieces of pizza. Okay. All right. So the bird builds a nest. The girl's contemplating whether she should eat that piece of cake. Can you see that one yet? That's not up yet.
I'm lonely.
It's coming.
It's coming. It's coming.
Wait for it. Wait for it.
It's coming.
Okay, there it is. And so here's where the whole way a day kind of comes in, is that we observe all this stuff happening in nature, and that's kind of like despotic in a sense where they have no choice. The bird's going to build the nest, and pretty cool looking nest, wouldn't you agree?
Oh, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like awesome looking nest, but we don't say, man, that bird made a decision to build that great nest. They're just doing it, okay? And the wasps and the cicadas and the nymph larvae and the spiders and the grasshoppers, they're just carrying out their duties virtually with air quotes, because they're doing what's right. But there's no intellect, there's no reason, there's no decision, there's no will. But we do have that extra component of being able to make a decision about what we do. And this is where the intellectual virtue of prudence or art comes in, and where we actually can apply and we can go in different directions. We can do right or we can do wrong, unlike all the creatures out there. All right, I'm done. What do you think about that? Does that help
really
at all,
interesting.
understanding the
Yeah,
intellectual
that's good stuff.
virtues?
Yeah, I'm not gonna. Okay, I will admit, I don't think I knew that much at all about the
Yeah.
intellectual
no,
virtues
yeah.
before the last 2 weeks at all. I don't even think I knew there were intellectual virtues, if I'm completely honest. So that was really cool.
All right, and Adrian's mentioning that David L. Gray is a Dominican also.
Yep.
Used to be a Freemason.
Yes.
Did you know
yes,
that?
I did know that.
Yeah, he was on Joe's show the other day explaining that.
And he also said that I'm his producer, so his show is always beautiful.
Yeah, very nice. Flattery will get you nowhere, David L. Gray.
It'll get you everywhere with me.
Let's see. Let's say. Okay, comments about the hat, and so.
Yeah.
All right.
Is it the time of the show?
Yeah, it's pretty much.
It's that time
I
of the
guess
show
it
where
is.
we give Dave Summa to think about.
Oh, yeah.
And he
I
gives
throw
it right
back
back.
at you.
We should actually record an intro with that where it just goes, I say, we give Dave Summa to talk about, and you're just like, and
then
I throw
you
it right
can,
back
you
at
can get it perfectly,
Exactly,
right?
yes.
Yeah, so we don't have to kind of redo it every single time. Although it's
Yeah.
kind of cool.
It is
'cause
fun to do. We could always change it up. I could throw things out there that you're not expecting.
I always ask you the same thing. Do you fire that off, or does Diane?
Diane fires that.
Oh,
I
she does.
technically
Okay.
could if I could take control of her computer and do it. But remember that happened that one time and I accidentally fired off the bomb sound effect too early.
Yeah, and
So-
Diane, one of her most important roles in this program is really being on top of that bomb and the applause, because she doesn't always know what the right answer is because I don't know that we've told her the right
I
and
tell her
wrong, right?
usually, but yeah.
Oh, look at you.
I know. That's why
Okay.
I'm Diane's favorite.
Yeah, well, okay, I don't know about that, but it's just okay. So who wants to go first? Does everybody have something?
I don't.
I sent you.
Jonathan always
Jonathan.
says he doesn't, and then he thinks of
I'll
something.
probably think of something.
I
Okay.
have a.
Yeah, what do
I
you
sent
do
an
all
email.
week, Jonathan? I mean, come on. How do you spend your time if you're not digging up questions for
Play
Back to
the
the
banjo
Father
and go fishing. you know this.
and
was a
practice your
great
crazy
answer.
accents?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
All
right,
right,
Sister, you
I
wanna go
have two
first?
questions. I could
Okay.
give one to Jonathan, but I sent him an email, but he clearly
Oh, you
doesn't.
did?
Yeah.
I don't know if he's deserving of any.
I
'cause
don't know if he is either.
I got
He
the-
didn't
All right.
bring any.
So I have two questions, and then Adrian sent me one as well.
Okay.
I could
all
just
right.
give you my phone, and you can ask Adrian's. Jonathan.
Can
Here,
you
Sam,
can
you
Adrian
pass
be
this?
my lifeline?
Yeah, right? Okay.
Lifeline.
So my first question, Dave,
Okay.
and I would say that you have a pretty good chance of getting this. You may already just plain know it,
You're
but
already
it's
setting
one of
up
those.
your downfall.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
one of those ones that there's not that many answers. What order did St. Thomas Aquinas' father want him to join? Now, again, this is according to the internet that has not been sufficiently fact
Oh,
checked.
he's done this before.
Oh,
Yeah.
Was that
well,
while I was gone?
I don't know. No, hold on. Don't. I'm not sure because he certainly didn't want him to join the Dominicans. They were very new and kind of controversial. The Franciscans were very new, so I don't think it would have been the Franciscans for sure because they're mendicant, they're beggars, and the rich people didn't like them so much. So I'm going to go. Gosh, for something that I should know, you're making me feel stupid, Jonathan. Well,
I wanna know if we have the same
I would
answer.
say the Benedictines.
Okay, what are you going to say?
Benedictine.
Oh.
Okay. The information I have,
Oh.
again, this is coming from the internet. Adrian can fact check me here. From an article that I was read, it said Franciscan.
I always thought it was a
He wanted to be a no way.
Because
There we
so
go.
was this Adrian's or
No.
So
This
you
is
found this?
This
Okay.
is one I found on the internet. It was in an article about his life.
Really?
I,
Okay.
Again, now we know we can fact check that may be completely wrong. But don't ask
Okay,
me
well,
that.
no, who knows? But
Yeah.
the Franciscans and the Dominicans were very, very new.
Oh, yeah, I know.
And is anybody going to do some fact checking and see
Adrian,
what this
let
is
us-
all about? I think
Let me
Adrian's.
know.
Adrian wakes up at like 3 o'clock in the morning, so he's probably asleep by now. We put him to sleep. That's why he watches this show. He wants us
I
to.
fell asleep to it when I came back from my
hey,
trip.
Dave, I have a question that I totally found all by myself and thought of. Who ordained St. Thomas Aquinas?
Who ordained him?
Again, this is-
no, Albert the Great wasn't a bishop, so it wouldn't have been him. Bonaventure was his compadre. Would I be able to get it? I mean,
I have no idea.
It's
This is
the-
another internet one that could be. I did try to fact check, but
Okay.
it could be completely wrong. So I apologize.
Okay, okay. Who ordained him?
Conrad of Hochstaden, Archbishop of that city.
Was that on the tip of your
just right
tongue?
to tip my tongue. I got an applause.
You gotta
I did
give him
okay.
the bomb. No, I'm
Yes.
joking.
She's a ball.
we go.
There we go. Okay, more like it. Okay, now you have Adrian's.
Someone.
It's on the text
You
over
want,
here.
you want me to ask it, or someone want to ask it? Diane, we'll just have to give you.
Alright. If St. Thomas Aquinas could have any material thing, what would he want?
Is this something that he actually was asked?
I guess so.
Any
It comes from
material
Adrian.
thing?
You have to
Our
question.
source is Adrian.
If he
Our
could have
source.
any material thing, I would say. Well, I mean, the Eucharist is a material thing. The Eucharist.
No, it's the lost commentaries of St. John Chrysostom.
Really?
Yeah.
He
Although-
He was a cool saint, by the way.
Do you think he would have taken that over the Eucharist?
I don't know.
I mean, I
think
guess
if
maybe
you did
something
say
that
nothing but yourself
maybe
forward,
something that he
so-
didn't have, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, good questions. I pretty much bombed them all, didn't I?
Yeah. I do have one, but it's kind of a cheap shot. A low blow. So I don't know if this is gonna be sufficient.
Okay.
But-
all right.
Oh, yeah.
On Away a Day blog, on the opening page, you have 4 pictures. Can you name what they are
Without looking at it.
without looking at
On
it?
the Way a Day blog.
Your Facebook.
Your blog, yeah, the opening page.
Oh, I have a snake.
That's good.
I have a salmon.
Yeah.
Okay. I probably have a bird.
No, you don't. There you go.
Okay, so I got 2 out of 4. Gosh, I should know this, shouldn't I? I probably have some kind of insect, maybe.
Not
No, a frog.
No, no,
A turtle.
no.
Okay, what are the other 2?
There's a family.
Oh,
and,
okay.
A picture of a guy looking majestically into the sunset.
I
Oh,
like
okay.
this cheap shot.
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
I
Yeah, it
appreciate
felt
Well,
like a low blow,
I
but-
designed the site, so I should
Yeah.
know these things. I got 2 out of 4. Is a
That's
50?
good.
That's what a 50% would be a failing mark, though, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
All right.
Well,
Here's y'all's questions. Okay, I'm gonna have one of those kind of like roundabout ones, and then
Okay.
one just straight ahead
Oh, boy.
question. Okay. Okay. So we're gonna go. Sissel, Sam, Jonathan, fire round. You got 5 seconds, and if they don't answer in 5 seconds, you do the bomb. Okay. One of the very first times we ever did this program, we covered the 7 attributes of God. We haven't done this one yet on the speed round, have we?
I don't.
Okay,
think
so 7 attributes of God that I taught. Now, God, there may be some that I didn't teach, but okay, Sissel, go, and I'll tell you up or down. Okay.
Wait, is this my time?
Yeah, you got
Shoot,
5. You got
shoot,
5. Yeah, attributes of God.
Goodness.
Okay.
That's it. Yay.
Okay, so Sam, you got 5 seconds.
Omniscience.
He is omniscient, but that's not
Not
one of the 7 I went over. So I'm sorry.
Yeah.
'Cause that's the okay. This is Jonathan.
Simplicity.
All right, go thumbs up. Okay, back to Sissel.
Wait, what?
No,
I
you got-
have to go again. Wait, what did we settle so far? I was getting a text from Adrian and I wasn't paying
Oh,
attention.
he was
what did they say?
cheating.
What did they say? No,
See,
he was
you weren't paying
Simplicity.
attention.
he was talking about something
you said
else.
goodness. He said simplicity.
Simplicity. Oh, that's right. What was the other one? Is omnipotence one of them? No.
Well, that's it. He is omnipotent, but it's not one of the 7. Okay, so omniscience and omnipotence are more. Have to do more with his nature than his essence. But okay. Although that could be disputed. So, okay, Sam, back to you. One of his attributes. Do you want to guess?
I do want to guess, but I really have no clue. I mean, you say I don't know if love is anywhere remotely close, but
Well, I mean, God is love, of course. But okay, we'll do one more. So that's a bomb. God is love, of course. Okay, last attributes of God.
Unchanging.
Immutability, yes.
Hey.
Jonathan von Weber-Hansberg for the win. All right, he also is perfect. He's infinite. He's eternal, and he's one.
Wow.
Okay, so
Those are the easier ones. I feel like we
Yeah.
could have gone.
yeah, now you say it. Okay, this is the one. So whoever gets closest to this wins. You can guess if you want.
Is it every man for himself? Go or as soon as you say the question, we give the answer.
Well, no. You can
Okay.
you can guess, but okay. So, what is the population of Aquino, Italy, where St. Thomas Aquinas is from? The population today of Aquino, Italy.
20,000.
Okay, so Jonathan says 20,000. Sam,
I'm gonna say 35,000.
35,000, and then Sissel,
57.3 thousand. No, 57,000.
57,000.
Yeah.
Okay. The closest one was Jonathan. The population of Aquino, Italy, is 5,358 people. So it's a small little Italian village. Okay. So congratulations. We have some nice parting gifts for everybody. And that is going to do it. Yeah, okay. Somebody said his family wanted him to become the prior of the Monte Cassino Monastery.
They must have just had a typo in that article and did Franciscan instead of Benedictine. I have no idea. It didn't make sense to me either.
All right. I don't think there's going to be a show next week, but we'll see you in as the music grinds to a halt. All right. Long story, but we'll see you whenever. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us for Back to the Father. And don't forget, the glory of God is the human person fully alive. If you have comments about the show, email Dave Palmer at grnonline.com.